So, welcome back, everyone, to episode 9 of the Computomics podcast. Today, we will take a little turn and we will talk about cannabis again. And on the show with us, you will hear about the Cannabis-NET network, which brings together talent and companies from German and Canadian sides for a greater increase in collaboration and innovation. I hope you enjoy the episode. So today on the episode, we have Simone Graef-Hoenninger, who is in charge of Cannabis-NET. Welcome, Simone.
Welcome, Anna.
It's a pleasure to have you today, and I know that Computomics has been part of Cannabis-NET for a little while now, and maybe you can introduce our listeners to what Cannabis-NET is and what your sort of goals are.
Okay, yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for giving me the opportunity to present the network here. And we just roughly 18 months ago now, we just funded that network on the German side and set it up as an international network. It is a network that is funded by the German Ministry of Economic Affairs, and it gives the German companies and Canadian companies the opportunity to work together in joint research projects that are all dealing on the hot topic of cannabis. And that is basically what the network is all about. That we're just trying to put together the necessary R&D partners to support the research and any technological developments that is necessary now to push the cannabis sector a bit forward and to get the full usage out of that great plant. And therefore the network is going to encourage partnerships between German and Canadian companies, or between also bilateral and national research projects here in Germany. That we just basically, what we want to do is we just want to close that research gap that is existing in that area to really come up with new and great innovative developments that are necessary in the cannabis sector.
Yeah. Now, I know that we have listeners all over the world, and somebody may think, oh, Germany sounds like a very conservative country. I'm surprised they'd be investing money into cannabis research. Can you sort of give us a little background on Germany's interests and sort of where they see the sector going?
I mean, Germany basically, they just changed their laws in 2017, and now since 2017 we have that possibility that cannabis can be prescribed to patients, and then there was also that the German side set up the initiative that cannabis is going to be cultivated in Germany. So first of all, I mean, we're just importing it from countries like Canada or from other countries, and now they just also came up and just said, okay, we also want to have our own production here in Germany. So basically, there was a large process going on that finally 3 companies got the license to produce medical cannabis on the German side and to produce it here locally in Germany, to supply the German patients with the necessary cannabis. So it's still from the perspective, it's still a bit restrictive. Like, okay, these companies have to meet all incredible guidelines or incredible safety standards. But nevertheless, there is an ongoing movement there that that Germany is going to change that a bit in terms of that the regulations are a bit like, okay, we still consider it as a BTM, and so it's still considered as under all the medical guidelines, but nevertheless the German market is going to open up for the cannabis sector. And therefore, there's a huge demand, and we're just trying to come up with closing that gap in terms of the research that is necessary for that.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And one of the things that I really miss about living in Germany is really the way that they approach these kinds of situations with logic and foresight, and really really making good decisions that consider multiple sides of the equation, and really thinking about, what do our patients need? What does the industry need? And I think these kinds of collaborations are really interesting and really, in the end, profitable in terms of knowledge transfer and also just sort of building, building that partnership between different countries. What have you seen to be sort of like, what do you imagine the benefits of these kinds of international collaborations to be on a general scale?
I mean, on a general scale, what we do, what you see here, and why that's also the reason why we picked Canada as a partner country, that we just, first of all, when we started, we just said, okay, look, we don't have a lot of experience here in Germany in terms of growing cannabis, so we were really looking for a partner country that has a long history and that has a bit more some experience in that area, and therefore it was clear that as Canada just legalized cannabis a bit earlier than this was done in Germany, we just picked Canada therefore as a country, and that was really enthusiastic on the German company side, that they just said, okay, look, that's great, because if we just have such a country that has already gained experience, we are not going, first of all, to take the same errors again. And on the other side, in case we can develop some great technologies, we have the opportunity to export that. We can just profitize from the knowledge that comes from Canada, and we can also export our technology finally, and just come up with some joint ideas, some joint developments, where both countries and both economic sides can also profitize from that.
Yeah, and I know that for our side, we've really enjoyed being part of the network and having a chance to really to connect to both German companies who are working in the field, but also to the Canadian partners. It's really been interesting for us. And I'm just curious, are you looking for other members to join? Are you interested in having people contact you? And if so, who would you like to reach out to you?
I mean, basically what we're seeing here now for the network is, the intention of the network is now that the network will go to the phase 2, and this funding phase 2 will hopefully last for another 3 years. So, we just really hope that the German ministry is giving us again the okay and the positive signal that we just can carry on with the network, and especially for that phase 2, that is what we've seen here during the last 18 months. We want to develop that network a bit further, especially in that area where we just need some extraction technologies, because that is really something where what is a key technology within, depending on the extraction technology the companies are going to use, they can just potentially influence their final product. Especially, I mean, and in that case, it doesn't matter if you're talking about any food or beverage product, or if we are talking about any medical product. So in that case, extraction technology is one of the key elements, and we are really looking for some extraction technologists. And the other point is that we are also like everybody's talking of personalized medicine, and I mean that is interlinked with all the with all that technology that is associated around that, because what we just when we talk to the medical people in our network, that is something really what we found what is really interesting here, that and we had a lot of also calls from patients that were calling us and just said, hey, can you grow this specific cannabis plant for us, because I just definitely need this cultivar. And we just said, okay, look, that's not the way the network is going to act. But on the other side, what we just experienced, and also that from the discussion with the medical doctors here, that there seems to be a specific personalized reaction to certain cannabis strains. Mm-hmm. So in that case, the whole discussion in the cannabis treatment goes a bit into that direction of personalized medicine.
Interesting.
And so because what I learned so far, and this I'm not the medical doctor here, I'm just the agronomist. That what we found really interesting was that it seems to be really that every person has its own endocannabinoid system, mm-hmm. and this system is going to react differently to different strains of cannabis, for example. So in every way, you can just put it in that way that, for example, one strain that is working really good for one patient might have a total failure for the other patient. Mm-hmm. And that has something to do with this personalized way of the people endocannabinoid system is going to work. And so that is something which we are having here in our mind, that this might be a really, really interesting area where if we could develop that further for the network, then we finally finally would come up with some really personalized products where you could just finally come up and say, well, okay, definitely this strain, you can breed the strains in a more detailed manner, or you can just develop your product in a more detailed manner because you know, okay, this patient, for example, needs, besides the different cannabinoids, he would also need different terpenes to come up with that specific reaction.
I love that.
And his specific treatment.
Yeah, I love that. And, like you said, you're just an agronomist, so you think in terms, in those terms. And, we deal with a lot of sort of complex interaction solutions. We call them machine learning solutions. And that's how I think. And so immediately when you say that, I'm immediately thinking, oh my gosh, let's put together all of these, patient profiles and reactions and types and, plant genetics and figure out, what are these connections? Because that's essentially what we love to do, is to uncover those complex interactions that seem like, for our human brain, those things may be hard to understand, but for a computer, they can take this huge amount of data, and the different properties of the plant, the different properties of the human, and sort of put those connections together. So you already have me thinking of, future collaborations, which I think is sort of, the point of things like this, right? To open each other up to different aspects of the same field. And on the same topic, I was kind of surprised when you mentioned that, but maybe people would love to hear like what kind of companies are really, in Cannabis-Net. So are they just growers? Are they just breeders? And I think they would be surprised by your answer.
I mean, basically how we just set up the network is that we just try to get the companies all along the whole value chain. So we just start with the breeders, we start with the growers, and then we just go further in that line that, okay, for growing cannabis, you also need the one who are going to develop different sensor technologies, who are going to develop different lighting concepts, who are going to develop the nutrition and the irrigation profiles. We just have the ones in the network that deal with harvest and drying technologies. Then again, with all the analytical part, like, okay, how is the final efficacy of your cannabis strain going to be shown, for example, in any cell model? And then finally, also it comes to the end where we have the final product developers, like the ones who are going to develop the real medical products, or who are going to develop food products, any beverage products. So we just try to close that whole value chain, and therefore the companies are really different, and that makes it so interesting for us.
I agree, and that makes it really interesting and worthwhile for us. Well, I really appreciate your time today. I really hope more people find out about this really great and worthwhile effort. And I hope that you get more interest from the people that can really enrich the network. And I look forward to working together in the future.
Yeah, would be great. Thanks, Anna.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for listening, and we hope you enjoyed episode 9 of the Computomics podcast and our interview with Simone on the topic of Cannabis-Net. We hope you learned something about the value of the collaboration between multiple countries and the way that it helps agricultural industries expand, especially growing and expanding industries like cannabis and hemp growing. If you would like to join or would like more information, please contact them. You can also contact us at computomics.com, leave a rating or review, and we look forward to hearing from you.